Hey guys, welcome to my channel. And in this video, we are going to talk about something very interesting. For last couple of years, everyone has been talking about de-dollarization. Trade in national currencies is growing. New payment links are popping up, and a lot of countries are trying to build back up. So one sanction or one banking block does not freeze their economy. That's the hedging. But here's the part people miss. Even the countries pushing alternatives still prefer dollar when it is available because it is easiest system to clear big money fast and at scale. That brings us to today's headline. The Bloomberg says Russian memo is floating something that sounds almost impossible after 2022, which is Russia moving back towards the US dollar settlement as part of bigger economic package with the United States. Now, so the real question here is this, that is Russia actually trying to come back to the dollar? And if it does that weaken BRICS? And the most important question is how much of this actually is true, right? And that's what we are going to analyze today, and why all this is happening, what's going on, why Bloomberg is doing this, and how Bloomberg actually got this information, considering that Russians are they have a very tight knit, information security and information control. So only they allow what they want to go out in the public. Okay. So how Bloomberg got its information, and considering in the past how Bloomberg has been, we all know Bloomberg, Reuters, all these news agencies, basically when they can't find anything, then what they do is they use confidential source, or maintaining the anonymity of the source, and this and that, they say it, and eventually after a few days later you find out that there is no such thing. But considering the the US envoy always visiting uh Russia to wind down on this whole Russia Ukraine war to resolve the conflict. So I am taking it by the grain of salt, and but I'm still thinking that probably there is a possibility of something like that. So let's talk about that. Let's see what's going on, and let's get going. Okay. So first of all, let's look at the news here real quick. Okay. So news is this, that uh, and both news that you see on the left and right are the same things. And what it is saying is that Russia is considering a return to the dollar settlement system as part of potential economic partnership with the Trump administration. According to an internal criminal document reviewed by Bloomberg, somehow Bloomberg got this document. A high level memo drafted this year outlines 7 areas where Russian and US economic interests could align following a potential deal to end the Ukraine war. The proposal envisions collaboration on fossil fuels over green alternatives, joint investments in natural gas, offshore oil, critical raw materials with benefits for US companies. The document, which circulated among senior Russian officials, provides inside insight into criminal thinking, as economic agreements between US and Russia are being discussed as a key component of any future Ukraine peace accord. At the center of the proposal is Russia's potential return to the dollar settlement system, which would represent a dramatic reversal of current Kremlin policy and could significantly impact global finance. So these two, this is the original Bloomberg news, and this is the investing.com, basically took the same thing right here and to put it here. Okay. Now, coming back to the thing, so, what exactly is going on? Is Russia really planning to do this? And what exactly is going on, right? So, what memo is pitching is this. Let me share my slide. First of all, the memo is pitching the United States and Russia coordinating to promote fossil fuels, joint statement in natural gas, joint investment in natural gas, offshore oil cooperation, partnership around critical raw materials, windfalls for United States companies, and the Most important thing is a pathway for Russia to move back towards United States dollar settlement. This is what Bloomberg is saying that is happening. Is this is what memo actually said. So let's talk about first of all the return to the dollar settlement. So what exactly does that really mean, right? So what does that really mean? See, what it means is that large counterparties like bank, traders, insurers, and all that, they can clear the payments uh, without sanctions. They don't have to worry about all that. Also, the one most important thing you have to understand is that uh, Russians have lost access to the ports as well. Okay, when you apply sanctions, then since Lloyd insurance is in dollars, so Russians lose access to lots of ports globally, which is like in South American continent, especially the Latin American continent. So they lose access to the port. So whenever they have to send their crude over there, then they have to use the shadow fleets and all that. So with this thing, they are going to get the access to the port, and Russia has actually requested the port access in the past as well. Okay, so now that's one aspect that why Russians are more focused on oil and all the natural gas cooperation and everything else, and that it also aligns with President Trump's whole drill baby drill agenda that US will be the energy superpower and this and that. So what they are saying, what Russians are, if you look at this, like, let me show you once again. Let's go back and let me show you. Hmm? And so in my slide, if you look at it, right, that joint, it's mainly it's all oil or natural gas, critical raw materials and all that, but that's about it. So why would Russians frame something like that in just oil and critical raw materials and this and that when they know that US already has oil? US already is the largest producer of the natural gas. So why would you propose these type of things, right? So the way I'm seeing it is that it's mainly that Russians are saying that, hey, remove our partial sanctions. If you don't even want to remove the full sanctions, then remove those certain sanctions so that at least we can trade uh, in these things. Now, what exactly it would require? The removing sanctions would require the clear permissions from US Department of Treasuries. There is Office of Foreign Asset Control, OFAC, all right? Authorization, guidance, all that will be required, and that in itself is going to be a big drama. Okay, now then they will have to see if banks are willing to take the work with the Russian banks and and handle all the Russian transactions and all that. Why? Because see, taking Russian assets and Russian transactions under taking under the whole thing is in that in itself is a very big risk, because you never know. Today it's Republicans, President Trump's administration is very happy. Yeah, we will do this. Then probably turns out that in 2029 somebody else comes, Democrats come, and they again find a reason to sanction Russians again. They may, in fact, run for the office just on the Russian agenda itself, right? So there are quite a few things that are involved here. So that's why the return to US dollar settlement is not going to be as easy as saying that, yeah, we are removing sanctions from Russia. Okay, that's going to take lots of work. Now, so why energy is the bargaining chip here? See, energy is bargaining chip because you have to understand the oil market here. Okay. What US wants with the oil market is that US wants oil prices to be in the range of $70 to $78 per barrel. Okay. And that is in the global market. Now, Russian calculation is that if US agrees and US and Russia agree to cooperate in these things, then Russians can actually stop selling the cheaper oil to the largest market, that is India and China. And since because of this, what's happening is that Russians are pretty much even though they are not the benchmark pricing, but they still control the price. Why? Because the largest consumers are just getting the cheaper oil. And because of this, lots of other competitors that are in Asia, Africa, South America, like that, they have to really uh, they have to compete, right? They have to at least bring down their prices further. So what's happening is that the American crude is still, even if prices comes down to 63 or 65, around that, in even in that range, the American crude cannot find its market simply because of a higher break even prices. Okay, so what's happening is that because they cannot find that, sorry, because their break even price is higher, they want the global oil pricing to be in 70 and 78 range, so this way there is certain profit margin. Okay, now here's the trick though. You have to understand that US imports Russian Canadian oil. 70 to 80% of the oil comes from Canada, and that too at the rate of 57 or 50, and 55 or 57 range, at the rate that that Russia is selling to India and China. Same thing is happening with the US. US purchases very cheap Canadian oil from Alberta through the pipeline. Okay, so US purchases cheap oil for itself, but they want to sell their expensive oil to the other countries. So that's the bargaining chip Russians are basically trying to use. What Russians basically want in this whole thing, Russians want is Russians want this whole Russia Ukraine war to end, so that whatever they have captured, this is the like final nail in the coffin of this whole war. They are trying to do is that once the war winds down, then they can come up with another plan. Okay, and while President Trump is in power, the administration is there. They will go and work on things, but as soon as the election is over, the, let's say, midterm, or even after 2028, they may change their tone. So lots of things are at stake at this point. So that's what the Russians are trying to do. They're saying that, hey, let's use this as a bargaining chip, and then we go from there. Now, why it is still hard though? Why it is hard? See, it's hard because of two or three factors. Number one factor is that European Union. Okay, European Union has also applied sanctions. Now, US may remove its sanctions. Let's say US removes its sanction hypothetically, right? Then there is no guarantee that European Union is going to remove it. Considering that European Union is not agreeing to President Trump's demand to for Russia-Ukraine uh, peace process, so I seriously don't think that the European Union is even going to agree to the demands to remove the sanctions either. Why? Because European Union is already getting the cheap oil, oil and gas and all that through India and other channels, and all that is Russian. So why would they care? Then another problem is the US itself. See, removing sanctions and all will require the congressional approval, then congressional research document and all. That's a whole bunch of things. Are OFAC is there, Treasury Department. Let's say Treasury Department, Scott Bessent basically moves forward and does it, but it will become really really hard to remove the sanctions on Russia through the uh, congressional research service document. So that in itself is lots of work. Okay, now how this whole thing is going to impact the economy. Economy wise, let's say if this happens, couple of things are there. Okay, number one thing is that uh see, Indian economy will start to suffer. Why? Because of their a large part of their import is the crude oil. Okay, now if Russians start to agree to this whole thing, then Russians will have to increase their prices. Now, if Russians have to increase their prices, then India, it will open up other doors, and India will probably buy some from Russia, some from somewhere, and so on and so forth. Okay, Same thing for China as well. And that's gonna actually streamline the oil prices in a way, because Russians have, this was the whole plan all along for Russians, that they are going to provide cheaper oil, control the market, and you control the price. So because of this, it will, I'm not really seeing very a major impact on the global economy, that yes, uh since the Russians are full-fledged back, they're fully integrated into the global economy, dollar system, and this and that, so it's gonna have some major blow. What's gonna happen is this: it will little bit expand the dollar recycling radius. And considering the Russian economy is a big economy too, like they have $2 trillion of GDP, so I'm thinking that they're going to clear at least $1 to $2 trillion extra as far as dollar recycling is concerned. That opens up some really big doors. Okay. And because of that, what's going to happen is that US will get extra leverage to print more dollar. So that's some, because why not, so that, but more so because there is another partner that can actually absorb whatever US is printing, whenever whatever dollar US is printing. Okay. And so Russians are betting that that US will probably buy this thing. Okay. uh, but I really don't know. I really don't know. I don't even know how much of it is true, quite frankly. Okay. I mean, Bloomberg has published, I have seen the original article, I've shown it to you. So I really don't know. Let me actually show you the actual article. Okay. Let me actually show you the actual article. And oops, I closed it. Okay. Never mind. One second. Just a second. I'm going to pause it. Okay. Okay. I'm back. So let me show you the article actually. And then let's go through it. So here's the article. This is Bloomberg. Okay. Russian memo sees return to dollar system in pitch made for Trump. This is a pitch that was made for President Trump. Okay. Now, so what they are saying, the key takeaway. So if you look at it, then this is all takeaways by Bloomberg AI. Okay, the Kremlin has set out proposal for wide-ranging economic partnership with Trump administration, including Russia's return to the dollar settlement system. The proposal details 7 points where Russian and US economic interests could converge, including joint investment in natural gas and critical raw materials. The plan would be reversal of criminal policy and could hand the Trump administration a major victory in weakening the relationship between Moscow and Beijing. Now, see, this is where the problem is, that I think that lots of it is basically written using the AI, and how AI's analysis is something I doubt seriously. All right. Now, Criminal has set out proposals that could see Russia embrace the dollar again as part of wide-ranging economic partnership with the Trump administration, according to an internal Russian document reviewed by Bloomberg. As usual, internal Russian document that was reviewed by Bloomberg. I mean, Bloomberg was specially invited, probably. I'm just joking. But I don't know. This is right. Whenever you say the internal Russian document review this type of stuff, then I seriously doubt it. Okay. Now, the high level memo which was drafted this year details 7 points where, in criminal views, Russian and US economic interests could converge following a deal to end the war in Ukraine. Uh, it sees the two countries working together to champion fossil fuels over greener alternatives, as well as joint investments in natural gas, offshore oil, and critical raw materials, plus windfall for US companies. Now, you have to understand this, that this article has come out. Now, if you look at it, 12th, right? So, if you look at, so this article has come out at a very apt time, right after what, the World Economic Forum summit, right? The proposal, which was circulated among senior Russian officials, provides uh, previously unreported insight into criminal thinking and tactics at a moment when potential economic agreements between US and Russia are being negotiated as a key plank of any future peace accord for Ukraine. At the heart of the offer is Russia's return to dollar settlement system, a move which would mean stunning reversal of Kremlin policy and potentially a dramatic shake up for global finance. Now you have to understand one thing that Russians said that they will never go back to dollar too. So this is why it becomes more stunning as to that when they say, oh, they're not going to come back. I mean, sorry, they're coming back to the dollar. So that this is getting tricky. The US has already proposed gradually lifting sanctions on Russia as part of any peace agreement, a necessary first step for the country to start transacting in dollars again. But what the Kremlin memo considers would go far further. Until now, finding alternatives to the dollar rather than restoring links to US led system has been a key goal for Russia as President Vladimir Putin sought to deepen his relationship with China. For that reason, Western government officials familiar with the contents of document said they think it is extremely unlikely that Putin would ultimately pursue a deal that runs counter to Beijing's interests. Putin spokesman Dmitry Peskov didn't respond to an email seeking comment. It is unclear whether Russia has pitched any of the points contained in the document to the US. Now, here's the thing, guys. Okay, now let's uh let's talk about this. First thing first is that nobody has said anything on the Russian side. Okay. Second thing is that if Russia has, it's unclear if Russia has pitched any of the points. See, what Russia has already pitched. Russia has already pitched certain points like rare earth point during in a newspaper or RT and all that. Their Russian news media already reported this. Russians had proposed these points during the election campaign of President Trump in 2024. Before that, right before that, they had actually said these things that, yeah, let's, we can do this rare earth deal with us. You don't have to worry about Ukraine. You can do it with us. Ukraine has nothing. We have all of their rare earths now with us. So why don't you deal with us rather than dealing with somebody else? So Russians did make so these proposals. Also, Russians were already working in the Arctic with the Western partners as part of the Arctic Council, where US and Russia both are in the Arctic Council. You have to understand this. So the way I'm looking at it is these proposals are this is nothing new. Okay, these proposals are whatever those points that Bloomberg has made. I seriously don't think that there is any reality to it. Okay, so when they say that um, that your oil and gas and this and that, now if even if you look at the natural gas, US is the largest exporter of the natural gas. US has captured the European Union market. Why would US want to remove Russian sanctions so that Russians can get back into the European Union market? There will be a possibility of that because European Union is not going to take it lightly if Russians cannot, I mean, if US removes the sanctions and starts to work with Russia and asks European Union not to do so, right? So that angle is not very clear. This then other angle that I'm looking at it is that World Economic Forum, just in the World Economic Forum meeting, when if you notice, lots of world leaders said that the old world order is dead and it's not coming back. Old world order is dead and it's not coming back. And then after that, President Trump's speech was there. He said lots of things in the what I think 45-minute long speech, that they're going to do this energy and this and that, going green and this and that. I mean, not going green, but he definitely said that he's not falling for all that and good stuff. So So if you believe this, then I think that Russians could actually write some sort of memo like that too, just to, for a, as a just as a manipulation tactics too. Because on one hand, the old world order is dead, is being said, right? That's what was said by Germany said that, then Canadians said that, then few other folks said that, right? So what was the old world order? Old world order was the petrodollar system. So if Russians start to talk about the cooperation in the oil and natural gas and all that, then there is a possibility that President Trump may consider it too, that yeah, let's work together to build less. to hold the old world order. Let's not worry about these globalists and this and that. But then again, once again, the competition, the market, the competition, all these things are there. And Russians are already doing good in their own thing. Russia's foreign exchange has reached like $800 billion this year. So I'm not quite sure that where is Russian disadvantage and what exactly uh, with this proposal. I mean, I'm only questioning the validity of this whole entire thing. That's all. So what is going on between US and Russia? What is their Russia Ukraine behind the scene deals? What Andrew Witkoff talked or what Jared Kushner is talking to Russians? We don't know that. Okay. But when I'm trying to analyze this thing, the whole article, then all of those things the article is claiming, Russians already made those claims in the public. So what is this so memo and some secret document and this and that? Something somehow the Bloomberg got their hands on it, and now all of a sudden it's a big deal. In fact, President Trump, during his campaign, President Trump said that he's considering removing sanctions on Russia. So all that was already there in the public. The way I'm looking at it is that probably Bloomberg took all this information, put it in the AI, and compiled it into an article. And there you go. What happens when you write these type of articles? People go after it, and Bloomberg probably gets some hit in here and there, and that's about it. Now, let's say if it is true. Okay, let's say if it is true. So, does this mean BRICS is dead? Well, no, BRICS is not dead. Number one thing is that BRICS was way before the de-dollarization talk was even in the picture. BRICS was formed in what, 2006. Okay, and actual de-dollarization talk and national currency talk actually picked up the pace in 2024. Okay, and so all that so this does not mean BRICS is dead. In fact, in this BRICS summit, if you notice that India has already announced that they are going to link all the BRICS countries payment systems. That idea will be pitched in this year's summit. So that what India is basically, officially what India is saying is that, hey, let's link our payment system so that we can expand the tourism. We can expand tourism. We can send our workforce to each other's countries, people to people connection, right? And then what we can do is that we can increase trade that way too. So if payment systems are interconnected, then it's a lot easier this way. So and that in itself is it's something that they're saying, that trade in national currency is another aspect, right? So when a country talks about de-dollarization, the de-dollarization or trading in a certain currency, then it's not just about the country and passing a law. It's about the traders trade in the currency they are comfortable with. They have their rails and their pipes or pipelines are already set and configured to work in a certain currency. So if that is the case, then that's what's gonna be. Government policies, basically government tries to align its policies according to their traders. Any proper government will do that. Okay. So look at Chinese may be saying yes to Russia's de-dollarization and this and that, all that good stuff, or trade in national currency. Then there are lots of prediction folks who predict all these things, that de-dollarization, dollar is going doom and gloom and this and that. I can assure you that people who actually talk about de-dollarization, who talk about dollar gloom and all that, or dollar doom and all that, I can guarantee you they cannot even count five countries. Five countries, they cannot give name of five countries that have 90% de-dollarized their economy. 90%. There is only one country that has de-dollarized its whole full economy. That is Russia. That's about it. There are no five countries. Let's say Iran also. Let's say you add Iran to it. What else? So all this talk of de-dollarization and this and that, it's all mainly, as to me actually, it's bullcrap. Okay, de-dollarization in itself looks like a bullcrap to me. Yes, what I find valid, okay, what I find valid and even more dangerous than de-dollarization is the trade in national currencies. Now there is a very fine line, very fine difference between the two, because to de-dollarize, you have to have dollar. But with trading in national currency, you don't have to have dollar. You just go and trade in your own currency. That's about it. So dollar will take real hit only when there is the settlement starts in digital currency, that is central bank digital currency, CBDCs. When you see that is starting to go up, that's when you will see the paper dollar is going to take a major hit. Okay, but until that point, BRICS is not dying. If somebody tells you the BRICS, that's it, game over for BRICS and that, yeah, maybe President Trump may use that as an agenda for midterm and all that. But I can assure you that uh, BRICS summit is happening this year too, and it's going to happen next year too. Okay, so none of that is going to happen. As far as this news or this article is concerned, I don't think that there is anything special this article is talking about. Okay, only thing that is there is Russia planning to get back to dollar? Russia is what Russia is planning, or Russia or not planning? I mean, President Trump himself said that thing about removing Russian sanctions, at least to or partially, if not fully. Okay, so saying all these things have no meaning. Russians may let's say, let's say hypothetically, if Russians propose this whole thing, then you look into it. It's natural gas and mainly oil and all that, and rare earths. Rare earth, US needs rare earth, and Russians need sanction removal from the ports, so that Russians can actually sell their oil into Latin America and other countries. That's all it is, so that they can utilize that Lloyd insurance and all that. Okay, so if the article is true, in nutshell, if the article is true, then this is the angle that I see. Okay, other than that, article is not saying anything special. These things have already been said. If you follow all the whole entire election campaign till date, you will see what I'm talking about. All right, so this is it for this video, guys. So yeah, take it by the grain of salt, and yeah, don't fall for all those agendas. Dollar is dead and this and that. I mean, when dollar will be dead, I can assure you that you will see the change. Okay, you will see when a currency dies. All right, when a currency dies, a lot of bad things happen. All right, anyways, so I'll talk to you guys in another video. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do like and subscribe, as I try to bring to you the accurate information. No fluff, no BS, no clickbait type of stuff. Okay, I try to give my original perspective on things. And if that's what you want, if you don't want to hear, those made up stories, then this is the channel for you. Okay, please do like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys in another video. Take care.